Let me see if we're live in this building. Friends, we are live on the Angular Coding Q&A live stream. It's your boy, Mark Thompson, a.k.a. Mark Texan, and the one, the only, the magnificent, the magnanimous. Is that a good word? Magnanimous, outstanding, uber, not regular TL, people in the streets. Not regular TL, the uber TL for Angular, Mr. Jeremy Elbourn.
Yeah, it's really overselling it.
Well, it's okay. That's what we do. Let's see. I don't know what this emoji means, but Yoko, what's good? Samir, bonjour. Bonjour. Let's see. Yo, what's up, Mohit? It's good to see you. Oh, hello, bonjour à tous. That's like French, I think. Hello to you. Ugo, let's see. Ooh, can you say this, Jeremy?
Nope.
Persondetch. Persondetch. Hello. Alcatraz, what up, though? Good to see you as always. Hello, O. What's up, comedy here at Harris? Let's go. Hello. What's up, everyone? It's so good to see you. Greetings from Austria. Hello, Stefan. Hey, it's good to see you again. I remember you from multiple streams. Thanks for always coming to hang out and supporting Angular. Michael was popping gamers. Let's go, man. We should. You know what? I have a thing that I want to do. There's this arcade game called Pop the Lock. And what it is that you play like a combination lock and you have to tap the button and the dial rotates back and forth between random points on this like circle, like this radial. And you just got to keep tapping to keep it like, changing rotation. And then you got to get 50 taps correct in a row. We should make that, Jeremy. We don't have to make it today, but we should make that. I think that'd be a fun one. Because we could do it with optional zones. So we don't have to worry about like, I don't know. Let's see. Anyway, just ideas. Martin, what's up? Shaista, what's going on? Welcome. Musamil, hello. Joseph in the building. Bisik, what up? Gabriel de los Rios, what's up? Nope, hello from Pakistan. Pavel, hello from Poland. Greetings from Morocco. What's going on, Bushamir? It's good to see you. Salud. Namaste. Let's go. Bilal, good to see you. NG, hello. What's up? Hello, Angular Light. What's up, Lewis? I think y'all like to call ourselves Angularians, but hey, Angular Light is pretty cool. Good afternoon from Brazil. What up, though? What up? So good to see you. Enia, what's up? Enia, owe you an apology. We posted a tweet announcing some of the V18.2 features, and I tagged the wrong account, crediting you, but tagged the wrong account. Sorry about that. Big apology, but thank you for all that you do for Angular team. Is Michael's background real? Who's Michael? I don't know. Everybody's background is real. Or what is real?
I mean, both of our backgrounds are real.
Right? Is it? Or is this like a digital?
This is my house. I can walk back there and, pick up one of those plants.
Mm-hmm. Don't do it.
I can pan the camera down and you can see my dog lying on the floor here.
What's up, dog? Okay, so Stefan, I'm going to tell you something. Jeremy said he wanted to do a stream on how to contribute to Angular. He actually said that.
I did. And I said I would find a contributor to walk through it, and then I didn't do that.
But that's a good idea, and that's something we can do. The inner workings of the compiler. We have another engineer also who wants to do streams like this. I just haven't been bugging him. Alex said he wants to do this, Jeremy. He wants to join us for some streams where he goes like deep into the compiler.
Everybody on the team wants to be in the stream.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. All right. I want to say a big hello to everyone because I don't want to spend 10 minutes saying hello, but I see all of you. Clifford, Himanshu, hello, Bilal. Everybody, thank you. We got a confession from Joshua. What's up, Joshua? I just met Joshua at a event recently. Confessions, I am both an Angular and Vue developer. What is React? Everything is great, Josh. Everything is great. Use the thing that serves you the best. Oh, you've been made.
I know I'm not AI generated.
But the dog.
Yeah, because you can see my hands.
That's true. The fingers aren't like morphing. All the AI video stuff is so interesting. Did you see the article recently about the Doom being generated, but not like code? It's just like predicting frame by frame what to render. It's an AI model. It's actually pretty incredible.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's just the next frame is just generating, no coding. So interesting. Okay, let's see. You want to expect some Angular material streaming. What do you want to know about? Nope. Like we can do some Angular material stuff. Like
we'll talk a little bit about Angular material today.
Yeah.
Just a little bit though. So I pitched to Mark. Let's talk about testing today because I feel like testing doesn't get enough coverage when we're chatting about stuff.
Jessica Janik will be so proud of you right now. Testing doesn't get enough coverage. Was that not intentionally a pun?
We'll never know.
We'll never know. That's what's up. Let's see. Let me answer some questions as we're doing this, as you're setting up and getting your screen together.
Oh yeah, I should actually share my screen, huh?
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Bilal asked a good question. How to host an Angular project? Yeah, a couple of ways. So right now, there are two things that will work immediately for you if you have a Firebase account. You can do a Firebase account, and then you can do ng deploy, right? After you add Angular Fire plugin to your project, and then that'll literally just deploy it for you. If you have a full stack Angular app, you can actually use Firebase app hosting to deploy. But you can also deploy anywhere where you can take the output when you do an ng build, wherever you can upload that output. It doesn't even have to be a Google product, but you can just do that. So that's the thing. That's the thing. Okay. Oh, wait. Somebody's proud of you. He's proud of you for the pun. It's a good one. People want the testing. Okay, I gotta say hello to Evgeny. What's going on? Good to see you. Wonderful. Another wonderful community member. Fantastic. If you paste it here, maybe we could speak to it, but I can't promise that we will be able to answer it. But paste it here, and at a high level, maybe we could talk about it. All right, let me share Jeremy's screen. We'll let Jeremy drive today. Oh, so wait, they roasting you, bro. Like, just like, look, he is AI. Why does he have 6 fingers? That's pretty great. That's pretty great.
All right. Are you sharing my screen?
Yeah, no, you're live and everything is nice and large. Jeremy, you're becoming a pro streamer. This is amazing.
I haven't touched my IDE since the last time we streamed, so I didn't have to do anything. I don't normally code on this machine.
I see.
So I thought we'd talk about testing today. And to start, let's use a little bit of Angular material. So right now I just have an Angular CLI app that I just generated, and I've made no changes to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete this whole page here. And I'm going to put a let's talk testing. Yep. So you can see that over here. And so I'm going to start off by just putting a mat select here, and it's going to fail at first because I'm not actually importing it. That option, and oh, thanks WebStorm. And we're just going to make some.
One second, Jeremy. I got to answer one question while you're typing out the that stuff. Question is it true that Angular is going to disappear? Never.
Well, tons of stuff at Google is built with it, so it would be pretty bad if it did, huh?
Pretty bad. Okay. So thanks, WebStorm. You got Ania, who I know Ania loves WebStorm. He actually was tweeting and posting about this the other day. So I see your postings, Ania, about WebStorm.
Yep. Yeah, we all know I'm a big WebStorm fan. And then I also have to... Oh, I didn't generate this with Sass.
Can you? Is it easy to change?
I hope so.
Let's see, Angular.json or something you got to change? I'm just curious. What's up, Michael Faith? Happy Friday. Good to see you. Steve Whitman, what's up? Good to see you.
And who knows how I change a project to use Sass?
Yeah, how do you do that? Anybody in the streets know how to do it manually? While we're looking that up, I'm going to say I wish there were more Angular Fire examples and docs out there. They are working. The Firebase team is actually working on this. Like they're like really pushing hard on this. So hopefully things are coming along.
Oh, I already have a little pre-built theme there.
Let's see. When is Wiz being integrated? Well, parts of Wiz have been integrated already. You're already in. So what's that? Replay. It's not called action replay.
JS action.
JS action and then
replay.
An event replay. I put them both together. Those are two Wiz like technologies that we've been integrating, and then they integrated signals in some projects. So the when integration is happening already, but friends at home, we need to say this just so that people can have a really good experience with this idea. The integration for Angular in Wiz is a long-term project. There's not a switch that will be flipped tomorrow or like next year that will consolidate the frameworks or like merge them together. The convergence around that is like a long-term thing. Okay, so we'll continue to integrate parts as they make sense and enjoy them. Yeah, but good question. Love the question. Thank you.
I'm still just getting this set up. So I'm just adding a little mat select to my thing here. I'm gonna pop over to the
Hey, enjoy, Josh. Thanks for coming by. Have a good time at the museum. And I'm tagging your questions, friends. As Jeremy's setting his stuff up, I'm tagging questions that will be answered. So we'll go through that. So let's see. I'm starring questions, and we'll go through them.
Yeah, we can answer some questions while I'm getting this set up. Just gonna get all my imports.
Sure. Hello, what are you coding? We're going to be doing some testing today. So he's setting up some material stuff, some components and stuff, and then we're going to do some testing.
I got it. And we're just going to actually add.
Ooh, here's a good question. You want to answer this now or you want to wait?
Go ahead and tell me. I don't have the chat up. So
gotcha. Zoneless hydration. How soon?
I mean, is that not something that already works, right? So there's still work to be done for like zoneless server-side rendering, but to my knowledge, you should be able to do hydration on a zoneless app.
Yeah, try it out and let us know if it's not working. Signal versus RxJS, that is the difference between asynchronous programming and synchronous programming in this case. The signal is a variable that knows when its value has been changed and can notify out. Asynchronously, RxJS has some features similar to that, like the behavior subject, which can kind of like send signals. However, the big difference, signals are synchronous. RxJS is for asynchronous programming. Think of asynchronous as things that are unpredictable, right? You don't know when or if they'll even happen, but when you do, you want to have some interactions based on that. RxJS is great for that. Signals are a good way to like store your application state, for example, like, and then be able to be able to notify of changes when those changes happen.
Yeah, I feel like this is a pretty common misconception with signals, as people think like signals is a replacement or an alternative to RxJS. And they're really like different things, right? Mm-hmm. So like a signal is a container for a value, right? You can synchronously read and write a value, and those reads and writes have side effects, where the side effect is telling the framework that I have read this value or I have written this value, which allows the framework to then do some other work. In the case of Angular, that other work is updating the page or running any effects that you have defined. Whereas RxJS is really for expressing like a stream of events over time, or a stream of data over time, and letting you kind of react to that and apply, different operators and combinators and reducers, maps on top of that. And, there are, RxJS is very powerful, right? It lets you do a lot of things, and signals are more kind of scoped to one particular job, which is, being a container for a value that can notify.
You in the building.
So
Good
Mark,
question.
So I have a little pizza topping selector here. What should I do with this? Actually, I don't know that I need to do anything with it.
But whatever you're gonna do, write the test for the behavior that you want to model first.
We're gonna write a test. So let's also make this like a multi-select too. Select multiple, yeah. So mat select multiple. This should let me select multiple ones now. Yeah, cool. So that works. So let's write a test here. So have this. And so, Mark, how would you think about, I want to test that the user can like open the select and like select a couple of things. How would you go about doing that?
Oh, I want to test that you can open the select again. Let me see what else is in there. You got checkboxes in that select. So first I want to make sure that the options exist, or that the case, if there are no options, that we handle both of those first. Like that's how I start. Very, very basic.
So, yeah, so let's say it should have some pizza toppings.
Yes, that's why I start first.
Right. So we're going to create our thing here. And so we've got our, our app component instance here. How are we going to check out this, the select? So what you might do kind of just naively is you might come in here and be like, I'm just going to say, document query selector for, mat select, or for mat option, like query selector all, and look at those. But we don't really want to do that. We don't want to start touching the DOM directly here because that's brittle.
Mm-hmm.
If the component changes, then our assumptions about that DOM structure might get messed up. And so what can we do instead? Well, we are going to use the testing harness for mat select. And so let's go ahead and import mat select harness from, this is Angular Material Select Testing. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to the documentation now, which I can zoom in. And I'm going to open up this example with StackBlitz that has the, or this example here that shows how to do this. So we're going to need a couple of different things. We are going to need a harness loader. So because we're writing a unit test, we're going to create a loader from this test bed environment. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and copy this. And so I'm doing this to show, like, even I go and just still reference the documentation for a lot of this stuff. So you could do this in like a before each, but I'm just going to do it in the single test here, since I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. So once we have that loader, we can actually say, so const select harness equals loader dot get harness for mat select harness. And so we'll close that documentation now. And I'm going to bring up my terminal, since that's going to be where I'm running the tests. So I don't actually need to serve this application anymore, since we're focusing on tests. So let me zoom this in a bunch. I think that should be visible enough. And so I'm going to start off very simple. I'm going to say expect 1 to be 1, just to make sure my test works over here. So I'm going to come over here and say ng test and let that run.
And then we got some comments. Ania says, why don't you just run the test directly in WebStorm, Jeremy?
I've never tried it.
He said, just click that play button there.
Does that work? Does it work? I'm so used to developing inside of Google's infrastructure where this does not work, just because there's a whole separate complicated build system. Ooh. Yeah, it popped up the whole window and everything. All right, go away. Oh boy. I want WebStorm to stop now. It passed, although it also reported an error that I'm not load. Oh boy. All right, can I minimize that? All right, it is running successfully in WebStorm. But now it's all oh boy, my terminal's stuck. Well, let's just put that away. Okay, there we go. Here, I'll maximize this then. So yeah, this worked. It did make me realize I'm missing browser animations module. So let's add that too. So go back here and we're just going to import. Let's do that in our Bootstrap actually. So get our app config there. Oh, provide animations async is here.
Mm-hmm.
So they just need to add that to our test as well then. So our test is going to also import provide no op animations for tests. So that should fix that. But either way, our test passed, right? Expect 1 to be 1 worked. And so now we can do something a little more interesting with this select harness. So we can say, expect select harness to be defined. Just make sure it's there.
Okay.
And so,
hold on 1 second. Somebody said, 1 second, Jeremy. Okay, listen, comedy of errors. Like, I know you really want to know this, but spamming it won't help us get you there faster. But I will say this. Which front end is the best, React or Angular? Everything is the best. And the reason we say that it's not a cop-out is because all of these frameworks have become sufficiently advanced, and they have features, and we all are trying to solve the same problems and help developers build great applications. So you gotta choose a thing that works the best for you, because everything is great.
User been destroyed.
Okay, you need a button that will run the test on. Let's see. Yeah.
What is this?
Let's see. You will need a button to run a test on. That's why. So rerun with each change. Oh yeah, you could do it if you wanted to, but I don't know if that's the major thing. What's the prob? Let's solve this.
See, this is new. I haven't seen this before. This is like a deep internal Angular error. View has already been destroyed. I don't know what that's all about.
Andre said, go with Angular. I mean, sure, go with Angular if it's what you need. Where can I learn Angular? Go to angular.dev. We have a bunch of tutorials there. And then once you finish at angular.dev, once you head over to just the community pages, we have so many amazing courses in the community, books and everything. I mean, there's really a ton there. But check out angular.dev and then even check out the Angular YouTube channel. There's a course taught by yours truly to get started. People are saying you don't need the compile component. That might be messing you up.
Oh, interesting. You sure?
I don't know. That I actually don't know for sure, but it's giving you a warning. Why? Oh, is it because you no longer need to await that, right?
Well, it's already been destroyed. No, that didn't do anything. Where's that view has already been destroyed coming from?
Let's see. Let's see.
Is it anything I'm doing? Well, let's comment out this harness stuff then. Go back to our expect 1 to be 1.
Just get it to work, right?
Okay, that passed. So it is this. It is the harness stuff here. So let's debug that. I probably copied something wrong from the documentation. This is what happens when I'm trying to talk and code at the same time. Let's see, where'd my documentation go? No, not that. That's Slack. That's karma. There it is. So go back to the harness here. We can look at this. So we got our loader. We're saying create component. So yeah, we're saying create component. Oh, did we forget to just call detect changes? Is that what we need to do? Type detect changes. That might be it.
Oh, that's a good one. I want to save this. Lars, would love to hear about how that's impacting those applications that are using Zoneless right now. Also, great new photo. Love that. Great energy. Well, yeah, let us know. Can you comment and just tell us like if it's benefiting you folks, like or how it's benefiting you? We'd love that feedback. I think you got to do the thing you don't want to do.
The thing I don't want to do?
Move all that stuff to the before each.
Okay, we can do this.
Because it doesn't work right now, so we can't really break it.
Let loader. Let's do that. And then
let's see what's really going on.
I don't know that this is gonna change anything. It shouldn't change anything. And so this is gonna say, yeah. This is harness loader.
Okay, I love to hear this. That app is zoneless and the performance is just incredibly awesome, even on the old mobile devices. Fantastic, Eugene. Thanks for sharing that. Let's see. I was about to go out and grill with my friends. You should still grill with the friends. You can watch the replay, but you can't replay that sunset grilling. Okay, so you go grill with your friends. We'll be here. We'll be here for you. We'll be you. Don't worry about it. We'll be waiting.
See, what's weird is it's reporting this error, but the test actually runs and passes. Right? If I say expect 1 to be 2 here, that fails, right? So this is actually just like a spurious error up here, which I can also just like do a Google search for.
Strange. Why is that doing that? Oh, here's some good feedback. Much better error feedback, much less magic happening. We agree. We moved all to signals and NGRX signal store. Performance is amazing, but was not our top priority. Okay. No. That's good. Oh, Jeremy. Ani has been trying to tell us this, and I've just been trying to keep up. You have to await one of those things.
This is being awaited.
Get harness needs to
be awaited. You're right. I just forgot to do the await.
Yeah, and I think that's why the thing is like maybe it's happening before the other stuff is happening.
Yeah, and so this is async. There we go. I just forgot the await. I did copy from the documentation wrong. And that's why, folks, you should always read the documentation carefully. Yay, so this passes.
He has been trying to tell us, like, you got to await that. Hey, we appreciate you in the street.
Mark. I've got my full screen up on the...
No, you're right. That was me. I was too busy just being so excited about Zoneless enables native async and await. Yeah. Zoneless is great.
This actually is a good point, though, is like, why is this async, right? Like, why are these not synchronous APIs? And so the nice thing about these harness APIs is that they're all asynchronous so that they normalize over whether or not any given component API or any action is synchronous or asynchronous. So if the component changes, say, selecting an option is synchronous one day, and then there's a change and it becomes asynchronous in like a promise.resolve or like a small timeout, the fact that this harness's APIs are going to be asynchronous is always just going to normalize over that, and it's going to make your test less brittle. So now that we have this harness and we know it's defined, what can we do with it? So we can say select harness.getOptions, And we can say that is also, that's going to be async. And we can say length, right? So we know we have 3 options there, so we can actually say expect select harness dot get options. Make sure there's no wait there. And we'll wrap all of this in parens dot length to be 3. We should have 3 options there. And so our test's going to run. Expected 0 to be 3. So there's 0, it says there's 0 options.
There's 0 options. Wait, what is options? Oh, that's interesting. That is super interesting. Sorry, this is super. You should hear this. Signals and Zoneless made it possible for us to use the native Firebase SDK instead of Angular Fire. I won't say it's hardly maintained. I think that's a little mean, Lars. We maintain it. Well, it gets maintained, but I understand what you're saying. But to be able to use the latest and greatest out of the web SDK is pretty cool. I didn't know that that enabled that for you, but that's really cool that it does.
Now, why is this returning 0? Because we got our 3 options there.
Do you have more than one selecting your template by any chance?
I don't.
Selecting the wrong one?
I don't. So, is length even the right? Oops. Yeah, it should definitely have a length of 3. So I'm going to go ahead and debug this by throwing a console.error.
Jeremy's just doing some testing. Thank you for joining at all. We appreciate that. But yeah, Jeremy's just doing some testing. That's all good.
The whole document body here, just real quick.
Sure, go for it. As pair programming is still a thing. I pair with Jeremy all the time when I get stuck. So it's definitely, I think pair programming is still pretty fantastic. Let's see. How does it work to be a part of the Angular team? What are the requirements to be hired?
I know what I did wrong. I know what's wrong.
Okay. Jeremy, before you go to what's wrong, how do I be a part of the Angular team? You got to join Google and then try to join the Angular team. But that's really the story.
I mean, contributors are always welcome.
And you can contribute. We have some very amazing trusted contributors. People like Enia, people like Matthew Riegler, so you could totally do that. That's always fantastic.
Okay. I forgot to do very silly. I forgot to open the select. The options aren't on the page until you open it.
Wow. Tell us more about the decision making behind this.
So first, let's just make sure that actually does run. Where did my little test box go? There it is. And so now this passes. So I'll rerun that. I'll get rid of this.
Oh, I didn't see this. My question was about NG05000. Angular detected the hydration was enabled for an application that uses a custom or no-op Zone.js implementation. This is not fully yet supported configuration. So that's why Evgeny was asking us if it was supported for hydration in zoneless apps. That's where that came from.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know why that doesn't work. I'm sure there, I haven't worked on the hydration stuff myself, so
yeah,
Jessica would probably be the one who knows the answer to that.
Yeah. No, that sounds good.
Yeah. So I was being silly and I forgot to open this select before selecting it, before checking the options. And why does it work this way, right? Why? I know the options are there. Why didn't this return them? So the whole philosophy behind these component harnesses is that they force you to interact with components in your tests the same way that an end user interacts with them. And so if I start up this application again, run ng serve here. and I come over to my local host here, I don't see any options on this page right now, right? And if in fact I go into my dev tools and zoom that in a bunch, and I do a search for mat option, all I get is CSS. There's no mat option elements in the DOM. And only when I click to open it do those options actually appear. And so your harness, when you interact with the harness, it's doing the same thing. It's forcing you to interact with your page the same way that a user would. Why is that valuable? It makes it so that your tests reflect the way people are going to use your application in real life, right? So it's very common here to write a test that goes and actually grabs the mat select instance, right? The class instance, or the mat option class instance, and write assertions against those. But when a user is interacting with your page, they're not doing that, right? No user is coming in and like, let me get an instance of that mat select JavaScript class and edit some properties on it and run change detection and look at the options that come out of it. You want your tests to be as representative of real life as is practical, right? And some things are not practical in test, right? Making real network requests to your server, that's not practical in test, right? That's going to make your tests flaky. It's unnecessary. So, you provide fakes for those things.
But you know what this reminds me of, though?
Mm-hmm.
Integration tests almost. How like integration tests actually go through and like click through things and, register the click events. I know it's not exactly like that, but open, then it check the values, right? Like that reminds me of an integration test style.
Yes, it is much more aligned with the way people have like historically written integration tests. And part of that is on purpose because we've actually built these harnesses so that you can use them both in unit tests and in integration tests.
Yeah.
So if I were to go and write like some WebDriver integration test, which I'm not going to do, you would be able to literally do this exact same thing. You would be able to get the mat select harness and interact with it. The thing that would change is this loader, and this is actually why we have different loaders. This loader is using testbed harness environment, where testbed is our unit test environment for Angular.
Mm-hmm.
But there is also a WebDriver harness. Yeah, I'm gonna like have to find it, but like go looking for it. Selenium WebDriver, right? And so there is WebDriver harness environment. There it is. Selenium WebDriver harness environment for when you want to do this in like a WebDriver test. So I'm take that out of there because we're not actually going to use it, but you can use it in both. And so I see I have these options, and now I can do more stuff, right? So our select, we know it's open now. So let's say I want to select the first two options. So let's just go ahead and extract these options out into a variable. Refactor. Introduce constant. Hey, why didn't that do anything? I don't know.
Jeremy, when you do that, I want to ask you this question too. So one of the questions was, I have two different instances of a component with different initial value for the service. How could I test the directive behavior, like at a high level? Do we know how to do that?
Can you say the question again?
Sure. So I had set up two different instances of the component with different initial value for the service. Okay. Yep. So I could test the directive behavior. So like, how do you?
Oh, how would you get between different component instances? Yeah, I'll actually cover that in a minute. So
good.
Options of 0 dot click and say options of 1. Click. So
Then
one of the
then
things
we
I can do
expect that.
here,
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to start talking.
I can grab specific options and click those. And this is also await. These are all async. This is a little brittle though, right? Because I'm like, oh, I'm just like assuming I know which index these are in. So one of the things I can do is actually filter down to which options I want. So I can say text onion. So I can say get rid of that, and so onion options. Right? I'm filtering this down when I call get options to one that has this this text onion, and you can filter by other things as well, right? Not just text, but like whether or not it's selected, whether or not there's a whether or not it matches some CSS selector. So if I were to say onion options for each, let's say option dot click, and then this is wait, that is async. That's not going to like that. Because I'm doing the wrong thing with async operations. But yeah, for option.
So Bilal, you asked what's the best back end for Angular, and again, so these are questions that are really hard to answer because best is so subjective, right? But where do we have some cool integration? So if you want to do like a full stack app that also does what do you call that, like hydration and some other like stuff like that, you could totally leverage a Node and Express or whatever you want, right? Because that's already there, so you could do that. But a lot of developers, like I know a lot of C# developers love, or .NET developers love Angular for a front end. So just pick the one that serves what you need. Yeah, see, Whistling Dixon. I actually like that, like Whistling Dixie, Whistling Dixon. I like RxJS. Yeah, see, there you go. No, Nitro. Yeah, I keep hearing about Nitro. I know people love it. I have not gotten any experience with it yet. Maybe I'll spend some time. Nope, I'm not gonna lie. I was gonna lie and say I'll spend some, side project doing it. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that right now. I'm being very intentional about doing other stuff besides working after work. I'm just trying to do other like things, give my brain a break.
Yeah. So what I'm doing here is I am looking for all options that contain the text onion. I'm clicking them. Again, it's all asynchronous. Then I'm getting all of the options that are selected and expecting that to be 1, and that test works exactly how I want. So the reason I was showing this off is because not only do we have these harnesses for all of our Angular material components, but there's a whole package in Angular CDK that lets you write harnesses yourself for your own components. And if you are building any sort of common components that are going to be used in a lot of places, it can be really valuable to build harnesses for this stuff because it makes your tests so much easier to read and to think about using these APIs than just trying to dig into the DOM directly. And it makes them a lot less brittle and a lot more flexible if you're compared to using just the JavaScript class instances, the component class instances.
Okay, pause for 1 second, Jeremy, before we keep going. Okay, what about Nest? Great. Lucas, if you're using it and it's working, great. I know people like Spring Boot. Spring Boot, let me just tell you something. When I first started development, I used to do Java enterprise development, and I remember Spring being revolutionary for Java developers. But then I was stuck on 1.6 for like 10 years in Java. That's because nobody ever wants to upgrade, and now things are different. Let's see. We could talk about Nitro at NG Poland, Mark. Yes, we can, Jerome. I can't wait to get to Poland this year. I'll be there. I'm giving some talks at NG Poland. I cannot wait to get to Poland. Looking forward to meeting you and any of our other Angular friends who will be in Poland. Armin, listen, Laravel. Hey, after Laravel Con or whatever? I want to go next year. Like, I'm not even Laravel developer, but I want to go because it looks hype. Did I watch the new Sonic 3 trailer? Jeremy, did you watch the Sonic 3 trailer?
No, I haven't seen anything about Sonic movies since there was Ugly Sonic.
Oh yeah, no. Sonic movies are so good. I was just talking about how much I loved Sonic 1 and 2. Evgeny says, pick whatever backend you like, then rewrite it in Rust. I mean, it's a valid answer. It's a valid answer. All right. Let's see. Anything else? Let's all go to Poland. Hey, Ania, come to Poland. I'll be there. Muzamil says, how about NGDE? I'm not going to be there, but my colleague Emma Torsky, I believe, is going to be there, which is pretty good. Yeah, see? Matthew just said, what's up, Matthew? Just said Emma's going to be there. And Matthew will be at both NGDE and NG Poland. So I'll be at NG Poland. Can't wait. I think that'll be my last trip of the year. But I can't wait for that one. Very, very much cannot wait. It's going to be fun. All right, Jeremy, did you remove your screen on purpose?
I did, because we were just answering questions.
Oh, yeah. We were just answering questions. Hold on. Let's see this. Is there any plans to include gRPC web in Angular and or the build system?
Not gRPC specifically, no. So we don't think that we want to like tightly couple Angular to any particular data client. So things like gRPC, Apollo, TRPC, what else is out there, right? There's a dozen different data clients that people might like to use, or they might build their own on top of HTTP client. They might build their own on top of Fetch. And we don't want to try to integrate or couple too tightly with any one system because, you know, like Mark and I have talked about, they're all good, right? Like all software has different pros and cons, different trade-offs that it's making, and different products need to choose the thing that works best for them. And so trying to like tightly integrate and say like, this is the one solution that works for everyone is not really going to work out. So the way we think about it is more like, yeah, we'll continue to have this kind of lower level HTTP client for people that find value in that, but make it so that we can, you know, you can build an Angular application with any data client that you want, and that we have clear patterns you can follow for how to use any of those data clients with like Angular's reactivity system.
If Blazor works for you, run it. Like, do what works. That's what we always say. Do what works. Are we going to be deprecating legacy structural directives like NG4 in favor of the @4 syntax?
Eventually, yes. Yeah. Eventually, NG4, NGF, and NZ switch will be deprecated and removed. It's a little like, you know, we try to take our time with these things. We don't want to cause too much disruption, but we have an automated migration that can change almost like 99% of these old NG4, NGF, NG switch to the new block syntax. And we think that will be pretty minimally disruptive. Not to mention the fact that the 4 block actually performs better than NG4.
That's actually one of the things I hype up the most when I give talks. What's your favorite feature of Angular?
That's tough. It might be dependency injection.
That is amazing.
Especially with the new inject API. I really like the new inject API. Right, there's a lot of things that we could touch on. Like directives is also one that I feel like is relatively, you know, distinct to Angular, or like tied into Angular's identity of the ability to just add some behavior to a DOM node without necessarily rendering anything. But dependency injection gives you so much flexibility in terms of how you architect your code and how you're able to test, and actually ties into one of the things I wanted to talk about testing today.
We can still, I think we can do a little bit more time and get some testing in. I would say my favorite feature of Angular by far and away is deferrable views. I think that is just a magic feature. And I know that other frameworks have islands and things like that. I'm just saying, but you just cannot show me like a framework that has at defer, just wrap some part of your view, and that part gets lazy loaded. No router configuration needed, no special knowledge needed. That is just such a beautiful feature. Best practice, you should. Oh wait, that's not the right question. Best practice to integrate PayPal payment. Not sure. I mean, you got to check the docs for PayPal. You might be able to wrap it in a service or something. But I bet you know what Angular is so popular. I bet you if you Googled it, you'll find some people who can tell you what to do here. We should do some talks in Brazil. We want to. Yeah, man. I'm hoping to get down there. I am hoping to get down there in the next couple of years for sure. And I want to do stuff in Brazil, and I want to do stuff in Africa. Like I want to get around. We have some great developer communities all over the world, and in Latin America, and then in Africa. I want to get into both of those regions and do some talks and stuff. Unless I'm looking forward to building some side projects with Angular and Golang. Hey, do it. Go for it. Matthew says his favorite feature is migrations. They are very good. They are very good. Evgeny agrees with you, but I think also you brilliant architect level folks really can appreciate the power of our DI system. So that's pretty great. For directors and other firms maybe come close. Directors don't get enough love, but you love NG Form. That's interesting. That's really interesting to hear that. Oh, here's a good question. Serkan, what's up? Good to see you as always. When we get rid of explicit imports and components for components and directives? I don't know. Tomorrow? No, I don't know. I don't know when we're going to get to this.
So, yeah, well, this is a longer term thing. So this is necessary for as long as Angular uses selectors as the mechanism for referencing a component or a directive in your template. Because the selector, by just using the selector in your template, is not enough information for Angular to know which TypeScript class is the backing behind this component or directive. And so that's why you need an imports in your like standalone components or YNG modules, like have declarations and imports and exports. It's so that Angular can actually do this mapping of the selector to the actual class. And longer term, one of the things that we're thinking about is how to make templates such that you can reference components without a CSS selector. How can you reference that component directly based on its class, right? Based on its TypeScript identifier, rather than going through this kind of layer of indirection with the selector. And that is probably where the direction we're going for, like how to get rid of that, like that friction point of having to have that extra import.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jeremy, let's do this. Let's spend our last like 8 to 10 minutes with whatever code changes you want to still implement in testing.
Yeah. So I have one other thing I wanted to talk about with respect to testing.
Sure. Let me know when you're ready to share your screen.
So I'm going to do it now.
All right. You got one other thing up. You got to, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I know. I can't flip it and do it at the same time. So I added this service to my my application here. I'm going to go ahead and inject that service. Pulls inject. There we go. Inject. Calculate. So I've created this little calculator service. And for the sake of this, we don't really have to like do anything with it. I just want to, for testing purposes, come in here. And I want to know in the chat, how many of you have done something like this, where in your testing module, you're like, okay, I know I have this calculator service that's being used in there. And so I'm going to create a provider here, and I'm going to say provide calculator use value, and then we're going to return Jasmine dot create spy object. Boy, that autocomplete is not what I wanted. Oh man, this like autocompletion, this AI like autocompletion in WebStorm is just like dreadful. Convert to right Jasmine dot create spy. So like how many of you have done something like this where you're just creating a spy object with a bunch of spies on it?
I have.
You have. I've seen hundreds of developers doing this, right? I've seen tons and tons of code doing this. And I am here to tell you today, as a public service announcement, stop doing this.
Don't make a provider and just like do what instead, Jeremy?
Most of the time. So let's talk about when the different types of testing doubles and when you should use them and what they're good for. So what I'm doing here in creating this, this is actually used directory. What I'm doing here is I'm creating something called a test double. A test double is anything that exists only in tests that you're using instead of the real implementation. And there are two types of test doubles that developers will commonly use. One is called a mock, and one is called a fake. What I'm creating right here with this Jasmine spy, this is a mock. A mock is something that keeps track of the APIs that you're calling and like when you called them, how many times you called them, what parameters you set when you called them. And when you're using Jasmine spies, you are, for the most part, creating mocks. And mocks are generally very brittle because all mocks are doing are asserting that your code does what you wrote it, like it does, your code calls the functions that you wrote your code to call, not that it serves the purpose that you meant your code to serve, if that makes sense, right? So in this situation, right, if I were to say like, oh, I'm going to create this spy object and I write in my app that like, yeah, I'm going to make sure that I call this convert to Fahrenheit function. And it's like, all right, well, I confirmed that my code called that function, but did I actually confirm that my code did what I wanted it to do? And if I'm just using a spy here, then I didn't, right? All I checked was that like that the code I wrote was the code that I wrote.
Right.
Now a fake, on the other hand, a fake is basically it's not a better way of saying this, is like a fake implementation of a thing. And so if I were to create a fake calculator here, this is a bad example because you wouldn't do this in real life, but I would say like export class fake calculator. And I wouldn't even say extends, I would say implements calculator, which TypeScript lets you do. Oh, no, come on.
You gotta implement those methods.
Yep. And, you know, you wouldn't do this in real life for something this simple, but I can just say like return 10, right? Or whatever else I want to like do in here. Like you would mostly create fakes when the API that you're using is not practical to use in a test. So you would most often see fakes for if you had like an API client, right? So if I, like a more realistic example was if I had like user data client, right? If I had a service like this that was getting data about users in my app, then it would be very reasonable to create a fake user data client and provide that instead of your real one, where this is providing kind of the same API as the real client, but providing fake data for your test. And generally, the best person to write a fake for a particular implementation is the person who wrote the class in the first place. And so if I go over here to Angular materials documentation, I have to find this here. We actually do have some fakes in Angular materials. So I believe for icon, if we go over to the API here and search for fake, we actually have this service here, fake mat icon registry. So normally MatIcon has this kind of icon registry service that lets you like add SVGs to it, and it will make network requests, pull SVGs from a server, from wherever. And you generally don't want to make network requests in your tests. So we have this fake MatIcon registry that avoids all of that. And you can just like literally set the icons directly to this registry in your test. And so anytime you're writing tests for icons, it's good to use this fake icon registry instead. So if you are providing services in like a library or anything like that, then it's a really great thing to do to provide fakes for any services you have that aren't practical to use for real in your tests. But the most important thing to say is that like, if you do have a service like this this calculator service I made here that doesn't have any problems being used in a test, right? This is very practical to use in a test, and just doing some math. Then use the real thing, right? Use the real service in your test. There's no need to fake it. This is going to let you write code that is the most representative of what your real production code is doing, right? Tests that are representative of your real production code. So the kind of the hierarchy is use the real implementation when it makes sense, when it's practical, use a fake when it's available, or sometimes if you have to create your own, that's unavoidable, but a fake is usually better than creating a mock. And only use mocks as really a last resort when you have no other options, because they're the most brittle. And anytime you change your code, refactor your code, you're just going to have to go and change that mock too, because all it's doing is, you know, taking a snapshot of the code you write and making sure that that snapshot hasn't changed.
Okay, so now I would offer just a slightly different idea that I want to just contribute. Hear what you think about this. I would add an amendment that mocks I would use as the first steps of like TDD. Like, because all I care about is that the things are being called. I don't care about the output yet. I want to make sure that like the connections are working in my like testing, right?
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
If it's part of your process, right? To
Right.
like stub it out. Like there's a different type of test double. It's also called a stub, which, you know, we don't need to get into now. But if you want to stub out your, you know, API calls as you're doing test-driven development and then like flesh them out with more sophisticated things as you go, that's fine.
Yeah.
I only really care about the code health at the point at which you're sending a pull request.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like if I was going to write a test or some test for a new feature, and I start with TDD, like I think for me, in the way that I think about testing, I'm like, okay, let me make a mock first, just to make sure that the calls are being made with the parameters that I think are happening, and it's just that's like the lowest kind of like point for me to get bit, you know.
Yeah. So there's actually a phenomenal question here I want to highlight is like,
Yeah,
isn't
go
the
for it.
point so that you have to update your tests when you change your code? Only if you change what your code is intended to do, right? So if you change your code in a way where it fundamentally does something different, then yes, you should update your tests in order to reflect that, whether you're, you know, fixing a bug or catching an edge case or just doing something different.
Yeah.
Yes, you should update your tests to catch that. If you are refactoring your code and the behavior stays the same, it's not doing anything new, it's not doing anything different, if you cannot change your tests, that's a victory. It means your tests are not brittle and that your tests are actually checking that the code does what you want it to do instead of just being a snapshot of the particular way you wrote that code.
Yeah. So that's a really good point. I like that. I like that that feedback. All right, friends. Jeremy, what are you playing, watching, or recommending or reading?
All right, I got some recommendations. So recommendation number 1, I'm playing Steam World Heist 2.
I love Steam World, actually.
This is the first Steam World game I've ever played, but I heard really good things about it. It is a turn-based 2D side-scrolling tactics RPG, and it's great. It has a really great like multi-classing and like leveling up system, and I'm enjoying it a lot. So I very much recommend SteamWorld Heist 2.
What about
I've never
SteamWorld?
played any of
You
the
never
other
played
SteamWorld
like
games.
Dig or anything? SteamWorld Dig?
I've heard of them. I've never played them.
SteamWorld Dig is another recommendation. If you like the SteamWorld like universe, there's SteamWorld Dig 1 and 2, and they're both a great playthrough. You won't spend 6 weeks on them, right? Like you can do it in a week probably for SteamWorld 1, and then I think SteamWorld 2 is a little bit longer, but they're not like long plays, but they're great.
Yeah. Another recommendation I have is I recently watched, I'll admit this, the very first anime I've ever watched.
Yeah, I heard about that.
It's on Netflix. The English name is Delicious in Dungeon, and the Japanese name is Dungeon Meshi. I've never really been like an anime person, but I've played Dungeons and Dragons for most of my life, and that really resonated with me. So Dungeon Meshi was something I enjoyed. And I don't know, maybe I'll watch another anime at some point now.
Oh, I have one for you. Oh, I was just talking about it like 2 weeks ago. Hold on, let's see, anime.
Yeah, and then in the comments, people are immediately just like, "You should watch Naruto."
Yeah, no. For you, let's see, try get back to the ship. What is the name of this? Oh my gosh, I can't. It's an anime where they're trying to get back to the ship. And it's amazing. I'm gonna find it out. I'm gonna find out what it is, and I'm gonna send it to you. It's such a good one. It's sci-fi. It's heavy sci-fi, which I know you're into. But it's a good anime. It's not so much about like action and like silliness. It's just about like survival in this sci-fi universe where these astronauts are stranded. Or sorry, they're not all astronauts, but yeah, they're just stranded on another planet trying to get out. But everything on the planet is trying to kill them. You know what I mean?
Oh, are you talking about Scavenger's Reign?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's exactly
I watched that too. So good.
So good.
I won't consider that an anime though, because isn't that it's not like Japanese style?
Sure. I can give you that. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I've watched Scavenger's Reign. That's also incredible.
Incredible. Scavenger's Reign was one of my favorite.
Yeah. It's a crime that it didn't get picked up for a second season.
I know. It's so good because I really want to know. Hamza is Scavenger's Reign, and then the one that he watched before was, you said Dungeon
Meshi, or Delicious in Dungeon.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, let's see my recommendation. What am I playing? Dragon Quest 11. My kiddo started watching Dragon Quest Adventures of Dai, and he's like, Dad, I want a Dragon Quest game. And I'm like, you do not want a Dragon Quest game. These things are like old school RPGs where you got to read everything. And he can read, but he likes action games. And I was just like, dude, you're gonna have to read all this, kid. So if you want, you know what I mean, like we can do it together, but you know, you can't hack and slash your way through all the problems. You have to read and do the quests and figure out what this person needs. And it's not as fast paced as you think. And so he begged. And so recently I got Dragon Quest 11, which means that I'm going to be playing Dragon Quest 11. Still playing Tears of the Kingdom. I'm trying to fully map out the entire like depths and get all of the like armor from the depths before I do any of the main quests with him. I'm just trying to like do all the depths. Which is, you really can't, because there are parts of the depths you can't get to until you have special armor that you only get from doing some of the main quests. But
yeah, it's also kind of boring, honestly, to just map out the depths.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like doing it because I just, you know, you know how I play video games. I'm a 99 times the Earth of gravity person. Like I've been trying to fight all the Lionels with only 5 hearts, right? Like I know I'm just that type of game player. Let's see, I'm not watching anything that interesting right now. What I'm doing though, I'm taking the page out of your book. I've been doing a little bit of a remodel at home, and I'm doing a home gym, and so I'm putting down rubber tile, not the like EVA foam, but I'm doing like the rubber tile.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna repaint. I got to redo some baseboards, and I'm learning. In my basement, airspace has like a wall that also has like an angle that I have to like cut some like of these floor tiles on. It's just more stuff to do, right? So I'm like picking up like little tools like carpenter square, so I can get like that a long straight edge, right, to go across this like rubber floor tile with this knife and stuff. Anyway, so I've just been doing that, and it's been so much fun to do something besides coding, reading about code, or forcing myself to like learn something new. You know what I mean? It's just a different like hobby, and I'm really liking this.
Yeah, gonna make yourself a little squat rack.
Yeah, I'm gonna do everything. I'll share some pictures. Maybe if I can find a way to share a picture where one of those internet sleuths cannot figure out my address, then I would share a picture. But like, have you seen these people who you can show, like, they can look at your screen right now and be like, I know where you live. That fireplace was only made in this region. And then, look at that thing behind you. I can tell this tree was in this. I mean, it's incredible. I don't want to be one of those people where they can tell where I live. So if I can find a way to share a picture that does not reveal my location, I'll share a photo. Okay, friends, it's been fantastic. Thanks for all the questions. If you have more questions for us, here's what you can do. You can hit us up. You can tag us in Discord. You can also hit us up on Twitter. You can reply to YouTube comments on YouTube. But Jeremy, I don't care what they build with. We get this question all the time. What should I build with? What should I build with? You should build with whatever allows you to go and build great apps. We will see you the next time. Have a fantastic holiday.